Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Cryptid Podcast Saturday night live stream. You guys, we have a great show for you tonight. We are in episode number 2 of the 50 States of Fear, the biggest state in the United States, Alaska. You guys, I got a special treat for you guys tonight. I have the one and only Fred Roehl from the Subarctic Alaska Sasquatch podcast. You guys, his channel is amazing. If you guys are not aware of Fred, where have you been? Have you been underneath a rock or a cave? I don't know where you've been, but you guys, I'm not going to wait anymore. I'm going to bring Fred right on. So you guys, let's give Fred a huge Cryptid Podcast welcome. Fred, again, welcome back to the show, my friend. How have you been?
I've been doing good, just dealing with the aftermath of dad passing and trying to catch up on stuff, just get that cycle restarted. So good, considering. Yeah.
Dude, man, I am super stoked to have you here. And again, I've chatted with you, I've texted with you, and again, my deepest sympathies for your loss of your dad.
I appreciate that. I was fortunate to have the time to not leave anything unsaid, unlike, a sudden passing, which kind of leaves things where you can't really have that type of closure.
Yeah.
So it's definitely helped. It still hurts and sucks like hell, but
yeah,
it definitely has eased things up. So
yeah, and I wish, when I lost my dad and my brother, and my mom, I wish I would have been able to have, that time with them with closure. But, with the 3 of my, my family members, it was sudden. It was completely unexpected. So, but
yeah,
man, you're always in my prayers, man. I want you to know that. So,
hey, I appreciate it, buddy. Sincerely. Sincerely. A lot of well wishers on that, and I appreciate each and every one of them, and I try to, respond to each one I can. But yeah,
awesome. So we got quite a few people popping in right now. We're looking at 30 people that are watching, but someone up here said, "Hey Fred, great to see you, my friend." We got W Leonard. Is it Athas? So
yeah.
looks
How's
like
it going, buddy?
got some of your people in here. That's awesome, man. So
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to even. I was hoping to make a video today and get it out and mention that I was going to be on here. I didn't even have a chance.
no
Dealing
problem,
with
man.
cellular issues is a pain, so it is what it is, But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
So anybody watching right now, if you can, please share the link to. Excuse me. Whoa, share the link to the show. Let's get it out there. We've got a lot of people from around the world right now. We got someone from Australia in. We got JoJo. She's one of my moderators. So big ups to all my moderators. We've got Dario, who's from Italy, in. Dario is become a really cool friend. That when he pops on, I get a chance to talk to him. So, yeah. So you guys, tonight we're going to be going through the great state of Alaska. And before the show, I was talking to Fred, and you guys know I pull. Oh, you are not in Brazil, Swamp Dog. We you guys know I pull some stuff from BFRO, and I like to, when I do lives or I do night chatters, that I like to say, hey, you guys, give me a state, give me a county, and we'll see what happens in there. You guys, there's hardly anything from Alaska on the BFRO. And I told Fred that. He's like, what did you say?
I said, well, they're coming to me. There's certain entities out there that will kind of go through reports and either edit them or dismiss certain aspects altogether because of their own personal beliefs. And that's not cool. I'm not casting aspersions on BFRO or anything like that. I'm just saying, okay, for me, I talked to the person multiple times. You've seen the show, so that way I can present it in the tradition of oral history, the way it's supposed to be done, who it happened to, where it was, and what they experienced in that moment, not what I think they should have done in the moment or anything like that. That's 2020 hindsight. You know what I mean? You can't just retroactively put something on somebody and it happened 30 years ago. It just, it doesn't work that way. And so regardless of what it may be, I showcase it as they saw it from their perspective. Because for me, I always ask them, how did you feel? What was going on with what you were feeling and everything like that. And I try to be as thorough as possible. And that way I can bring whoever's watching just right there into the moment. And it's a process. It takes time, but it also allows me to, in essence, vet the people at the same time. And it's not to like doubt them in any way. It's just, I've had people try to tell me they were 60 miles north of Sitka, 10,000 feet up on a mountain, blah, blah, blah. And it's just nonsense. I know my state. And so it's a way to keep the BS out of it,
Yeah.
but it's best to go with what they said, what they saw, and what they felt. If, like, for example, someone prayed to Jesus and this thing took off, I don't gatekeep that. I share what they experienced. But you're not going to catch me on a soapbox evangelizing anybody either. That's not what the channel's for. It's just public information, so they know the behaviors that happen, and potentially look out for that. And if they hear an 800-pound owl, maybe rethink where you're staying and get the hell out of there, before it can really get bad. So it's public safety is the main drive for my where I come from.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I always say here, my platform is a safe place for people to come and share their stories, and because every single story is a potential piece of a puzzle, and
Yeah,
once we get that puzzle completed, we're gonna know more.
yeah, yeah.
We're gonna
Even
get
if
it.
it's just a corner of the puzzle, you can get a better
Yep.
idea of the picture. And there's, a lot of people ask me what I think and things like that. And I mean, I'm no expert. Grant you, I do have my finger on the pulse of encounters because people come to me with it, and so I do get information on a larger scale than most. Okay. Um, One thing I won't do though is gatekeep anything. Now, I do respect someone's request for anonymity, or if they don't want it shared publicly. I
Yeah.
respect that. I invite people to get it off their chest, because there's a lot of people that will self-medicate, self-isolate, and there's a weird like self-shame, and they didn't ask for that. No one got up in the morning like, oh, I hope I run into a monster and it scares the shit out of me out in the woods. No one does that.
Yeah.
They don't ask for it, but there's this weird shame that comes about with it because of the ridicule, and from public and from even loved ones, trusted, people you trust in your life would just kind of scoff and mock. So I invite them to share just so they can get it off their chest and help them kind of get that weight off their shoulders, so they're not self-medicating, falling into a bottle or whatever, what have you. And there's even I know of people who have kind of self-deleted uh, because of not being believed and being tormented by ridicule, which is not, that's just not cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's kind of what happened to me before, I shared with Wes Germer from Sasquatch Chronicles. I shared part of my sighting that I had, um, and only reason was is because I wasn't sure how it was going to be gauged, because I'd been teased and ridiculed, not by just average people, but family members, and that's what was really hard. So I just bottled it up, and then 30 plus years later, I told Wes, and then I just kind of got um, a little more courage and said, you know what, it's time to really just put this out here, and yeah, so now here I'm doing this podcast, and it's going well, and I'm meeting amazing people. We've got two real cryptid legends in the house. That is Daryl Denton's channel on YouTube. So if you guys would do me a favor, click on his name and subscribe. Daryl and Ron Moorhead are going to be doing a podcast from time to time from Two Real Cryptid Legends, and share some incredible encounters, and hopefully get them to go live and things like that. So you got a lot
Nice.
of fans. You got a lot of fans in here, man. You really do. You have a
Oh,
ton of fans. But yeah, someone commented, and I'm sure they do it with you is they come to you for help in a way.
at times, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do
You
I
know,
do?
go ahead.
Yeah, it's like, they're asking you, what do I do? Um, this is what's
Right,
going
right.
on. Can you help me? You know?
Yeah, and I again, I'm no expert or anything, but there are some things that I can point them in the right direction, and kind of give them as best I can. You know what I mean? Because there is no experts out there, and if anyone claims to be one, then you need to watch out. Check your pockets, make sure they're not don't have a hand in your wallet, but because there's not enough information out there. There's no one has one of these creatures or a set of them in their garage, and they're having them Jane Goodall moments, to where they're teaching each other sign language and fit and communicating.
Right.
Um, and so I do what I can when I can, whether it's advice for getting IR floodlights, they tend to stay back from those, setting up trail cameras, and you know, and sometimes it works and sometimes it's just oof, there's some really rough spots out there that seem to be impervious to certain things, and it's like it reaches a certain point of years of harassment. What do you do, when you've exhausted everything you're aware of that might help?
Yeah.
Then it makes it hard. um it really does, because there's people that are going through real trauma, and it's chaotic in the mind, especially when they're alone, per se, like someone who's alone, and they're elderly and they're dealing with constant harassment one way or another. um I feel for them, because at the end of the day, what do you do with that? You know what I mean? Like, you can call the troopers, you can post a report, but how many reports before they put you in a padded room in a hug me jacket?
Yep.
Because they're not willing to accept it. Even if you show them the evidence, you show them everything going on, it still it gets them nowhere. You know what I mean? And so it's yeah, it can be rough, man. It can really be rough.
Yeah.
And I wish there was more answers. You know what I mean? And to be more of a help. You know, yeah. So you
Yeah.
just you never know. You never know.
Yeah, for sure. So you guys, I know we can sit here and talk to Fred the entire thing, but I want to get on here and read some stories that I've found, you guys. Um, and we'll get into some of these, and I'll Fred. I'm going to ask you to tell a couple of your personal encounters with the hairy
Sure.
man. One that comes to mind is I think you're in a cabin with your cousin and your uncle,
Oh
and
yeah, I've shared that many times. Yeah, on the Nuyakuk River in '06. Yeah.
that is one of the most terrifying encounters I've ever heard. But you guys, this is a pretty strange encounter. And the ones that I read, Fred, if you have anything that you know about these, by all means, please jump in and kind of either debunk it or add more to the story if you're able to. Okay.
Yeah, certainly.
All right, you guys. So this one happened supposedly near Nome, Alaska, or Bethel. And what it is a bush pilot and his wife, newlywed, were en route to Anchorage, where they would make connections for their honeymoon. The weather turned sour, so he had to touch down in his Cessna. There's a debate on what kind of plane it was, either a 180 or 185 on floats. He taxied to the shore where he and his wife looked for a spot to pitch their tent for the night. Having found one, he turned towards the plane to fetch the tent, with his wife following him. He heard his wife scream and turned and saw a hairy bipedal uh, creature running from the location towards the woods with his wife under one arm. The pilot chased after the critter before realizing he could best stop it with a firearm. Returned to the plane to grab his rifle. He followed, seeing them 3 times before losing sight of them. He initially found particles of clothing from his wife's garment. He either spent the night in his tent and looked the next day, or flew to Anchorage and reported the event to the Alaskan state troopers, who then began a search, but they were unable to come up with any positive results. The wife was never found, and the pilot was distraught and a complete basket case for years after that.
Okay. That that particular version of it, I haven't heard with them popping up a tent. Um, the one I've heard a few times is that they had reserved one of the remote state cabins and intentionally went there as part of their honeymoon. And it's a convoluted. There's about 6, 7 different versions along the same lines, and none of it's. I mean, so when I first heard it, I'll just start here. When I first heard it, public records, they're public records, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they make it really hard to research those because you have to have a case number. And if you put in a Freedom of Information Act, you also have to have the case number, the incident date, and all this other stuff, which a story like that is so convoluted. There's no XYZ you can punch in and bring it up because they want exact, case number, reports, whatever. And it's impossible to background that and research it to see if there was actually a report made. And even if you know of ones that were made, got a case number and all that, you still have to file a Freedom of Information Act, because going through the state website is very hard to navigate to get specific information. Because I wanted to showcase missing people in Alaska and kind of give background to some of those missing people. I had to abort that because the best you could get is a couple different missing people bulletins, and that's all you could get. And there's 500 to 2,000 go missing a year up here, and to
Really?
only be able to get, oh yeah, oh definitely, and to only be able to get access to a few of the missing people bulletins, that's bullshit, man.
Mm.
We're in a state of less than 1 million people, and you would think with that many going missing, there would be a concerted effort to get that information out, to distribute whatever you can whenever you can. And it's you get nowhere. You really do. You get nowhere. And it's a shame, because I don't know what they gain from that. You know what I mean? I don't know if they trying to avoid a public health crisis or a public panic or something like that. But come on, we live here. People should
Yeah.
know. They should be aware. Hey, it's dangerous. It's not a petting zoo around here. I jokingly say that everything wants you dead, but that's not far fetched, man. A couple of winters ago, just in my backyard, a bull moose tried to stomp me to death 5 separate times, and on my property. It wasn't like I went and provoked it, but you know, um, yeah, people need information. That's the whole point of when I started the channel and the interactive map was. Now, I'm not trying to cast aspersions or doubts on anyone's experience, but one of my motivating factors was hearing a lot of these fanciful forest friend or my buddies, and that may be true. That may be for them, what have you. But from my life experience and what I hear from people, mm, that's not the case.
Right.
I have not had one person get a hold of me and say, "Hey, I felt really good when I encountered this thing." 10 out of 10 times, I hadn't even seen it and I feared for my life. It was fight or flight. I needed, there was nothing friendly about it, because my friends don't make me fear for my life even when I can't see them over there. That's not, it's not what it is, especially up here. And again, I'm only speaking about Alaska. I've heard plenty of credible, experiences down lower 48 where they're not as aggressive,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing of it is that up here in Alaska, people got to keep in mind, it's a short season, it's extreme weather, and a lot of these encounters that happen are at resource gathering areas, and that's a source of conflict. Irregardless of how you want to stack it, it's at those places, and there are those outlying incidences where someone's being harassed at their cabin, and for the vast majority of it, people get out of there. You know what I mean? So it's there's environmental circumstances, I think, that kind of push that aggressiveness, and there's other aspects of it. I mean, many tribes for millennia, their oral history dictates that they'll steal you and eat you. You know what I mean? Like women and children are not safe. You don't let them go out in the woods alone. There's certain things when you grow up in the culture that, for one, there's not a lot of people will speak about it, especially indigenous peoples, um, because of superstitious beliefs about bringing a bad omen around, which I respect. Um, However, they're just not our friend, not around
Yeah.
here. It's just Alaska's different. It really is in so many different ways. There's cold places and beautiful places around, but Alaska is in and of itself comparable to Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And yeah, there's just factors that people don't take into consideration when they're considering why the aggression, why this, why that. It's a multitude of things, but I think the most important thing to consider is those environmental factors, the extreme short season, the extreme weather, and a lot of the conflict is at those resource gathering areas, So I think that plays a big part in the overall aggression and I doubt they even like us around here because I'm biased myself. I say shoot them all.
Yeah.
However, you know, there are others out there that I know of that have seen them and just open fire. So I'm not saying it's necessarily a fair thing because I'm biased. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
For someone to just open fire, I'm not saying that's fair, but I get it. What do you do when you're confronted with a monster in the woods and you're not feeling good about it? You know what I mean? Of course, you're going to want to defend yourself, and I'm not condoning it, but I don't not support it. I don't know. It's, again, I'm biased. I'm not pro hairy man in any way. I say put them all down like a rabid dog with extreme prejudice, but that's my own personal thing. But yeah, it's not the place for friendly critters around here at all. It's
Yeah.
just not.
I agree, man. And see, look right here. Sorry, I am a serious Fred admirer. Man, you got fans. And
Oh,
and
thank you.
majority of what people are saying on here is like you're the real deal, man. I mean, it's like you're not you don't hold back. And I love the fact, and this is what drove me to your channel, is how you tell that story. Just like you said, as part of an oral history, and you're telling it as close as you possibly can the way it was told to you. And
Yeah.
that's what I like about it. Um, so if Krista, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Krista just dropped me a super chat. So thank you so much, Krista. Um, will you do us the favor, or not the favor, but the honor of telling your '06 encounter? If you guys have not heard his '06 encounter, it is literally one of the most terrifying encounters I've ever heard coming from an actual person. I've heard a lot being an interviewer here with the Cryptid Podcast, and there have been some very frightening encounters. Yours is not frightening. To me, yours is absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, I'll it'll, for time constraints, it'll be, abbreviated, but so in '06, an elder needed our help, wanted to do some gold panning and potentially, set up a mining claim, up. It would be, I guess it'd be near where the Pebble mine, they found a very large deposits of gold and copper in that area. But the elder, he wanted to go and check out some spots, and people will share information like good gold over here, good gold over there. I never paid attention to it because gold means nothing to me. But me and my cousin were going to be worker bees, and so you know youngest carries the load kind of thing, or if the elder needs help, you just help. And so we go along, and you got to understand the Nuyakuk River from Dillingham you got to go all the way up to Nushagak, up past the Mulchatna, past Kaliganik. It's like 248-ish river miles, from Dillingham. And so it's not just right up the creek. You know what I mean? You're out there. And where we ended up being was about 6-7 miles outside of Wood Tick Chick State Park, coming down from, I guess it would be Lake Tick Chick, or I forget what that. I think it's Tick Chick Lake. Yeah, that the fifth lake there. Um, and then you got the Nuyakuk Falls, and then the Nuyakuk River is the largest by volume tributary to the Nushagak River. And then the second is the Mulchatna, a little further south down to the Nushagak. Anyway, so it took a couple days journey because the Elder, it gets cold on the river, man. And so traveling like that, he's mid late 60s at the time. And so, we made some stops going upriver at like New Stuyahawk to visit relatives and for him to warm up, And so we left Dillingham on September 13th, the day after my birthday in 06. And by the time we got up to that site there on the Nuyakuk, it was September 17th. And it was a couple hours before, sunset and whatnot. So when we get there, first thing we did was check to make sure there was no bears, because there was spawn out salmon in the river, So we did the bear check thing and basically unloaded the skiff. And, my Elder, he made this, like fish stew, fish chowder, whatever you want to call it. And we got all that done. We ate, and Elder and my cousin were playing cribbage, and it barely just started, getting dark at this point. And I was messing with I had a brand new Remington 870 shotgun, rifled barrel. It was brushed stainless, and I had the combat sights on it, right? And the ghost ring sight in the back was off. I had popped it a couple times coming up river, and I just doing some adjustments with it. And as we're sitting there talking, my Elder was giving us kind of like, I want samples from here. He's lining us out. I want you guys to go up over here. I want buckets to sample from there, like, so he could sluice it and check it out. And just giving us our marching orders for the next morning. And as they were playing their game of cribbage, they had this, Coleman lantern hanging above that little card table. Now, this is an 8-foot by 8-foot little rickety shack. I mean, it's a glorified cardboard box, 2x4, 5/8 construction. There's nothing to it. 2 mirroring windows. They're like 18 by 24. And it was a cramped little space. There wasn't much room in there at all, But as we're sitting there, all of a sudden the whole place is made this like a stiff wind hit it, you can hear the nails kind of creak, and there was no wind. We would know, because we would have heard it. It would have, there would have been telltale signs about wind. So it was like, what the hell? And as I'm sitting there and I look over, the way my cousin was positioned between his shoulder and the top of the window behind him, I saw movement, right? And so he's like, hey, because I was like, I had a look on my face, and he got startled. He's like, hey, that's not funny. And I was like, no, I saw movement. So immediately, being by the salmon river, we figured bear. So we grabbed this 1,000,000 candle watt power spotlight, 6-volt battery, brand new battery. It works really well with a new battery. And so our plan was, he grabbed 30-06. We're going to deal with this bear, run it off, shoot it if we had to, whatever. And so this door is rickety as hell. I mean, anyway, so we push open the door, and I beam off towards the riverbank side, right? And looking, there's nothing. And as I pan, we took a step out the door, guns ready. I'm trying to hold the shotgun and work the spotlight, and I pan over to the left, and as I get over to where it hits the tree line about 50 yards off to our left, all of a sudden there's 3 sets of eye shine, like fence post markers, man. It was bright, big, bright red eye shine, and immediately went right back inside. Like, we didn't have to say, get in there he stepped in, I was right behind, and there's this little J-hook that was basically the lock, little eyelet and a little J-hook. That was it. Mm-hmm. So as soon as I hit that little thing, I set down the spotlight, and I was readjusting my hands, and there's this it was like having earmuffs on. It was like your ears not popping from a flight, and so who you're talking to next to you sounds like they're 20 feet away in a jar, but they're right there. It's like real weird pressure. And so I'm confirming, holy shit, I'm telling my elder, hey, there's hairy man out there. And I'm trying to talk to my cousin about what was going on, about you saw what I saw kind of thing, trying to get confirmation, anything, trying to get someone to talk to me. And within a couple moments of getting inside the door, all of a sudden he's like under that card table like that. Like he was just flung down there all of a sudden, right? And so it's all just like chaotic in the mind in those moments. And he's gripping the 30-06 by the barrel, because when he came in the door, he was holding it by the barrel and the buttstock was on the ground, kind of like a paddle.
Mm-hmm.
And when he was under the table, it looked like he was having a seizure, and he was looking across the way. But the first time I looked down at him, it wasn't registering what was going on with him. And he had wet his pants, right? And so I look at my elder, and he looks at me, and we both look down again, and we see him. He's looking at the window right off to my right hand side, which is like 3 feet from the end of the barrel of the shotgun I'm holding, right? I'm holding it offhand. And we both turn and look. And when I look over at this thing, that 18-inch window, I saw from the bottom of the nose to just above the top of the eyebrows, uh, really like 2 shades darker than wet cement, gray skin, uh, big black, like translucent black marble eyes, little glint of the red eye shine from the lamp. And it was initially looking down at my cousin, and it turned and looked at me. Now, all this is happening way faster than how I'm explaining it. But when it looked at me, uh, the shock to my system, because I already knew they existed, I wasn't ignorant to that. But when it looked at me, I instantly knew what food felt like. And the shock to the system was like every nerve fiber in my body tried to run, but it was stuck in my skin. So it was like an electrical shock. Very shocking, like literally. And this thing like furled its brow and started like moving away from the window towards my right, and just autopilot, holding that shotgun offhand, thump, thump, thump. I pumped 3 rounds through the side of the cabin, little drywall, or not drywall, but plywood. Excuse me. And it was a simultaneous scream, and the place shifted. Now, it almost took me off my feet. I'm talking, it shifted the whole place. And I thought we were going to go into the river, because we were not far from the riverbank with this old shack. Now, this is an old salmon counting tower, right? So it's 8 foot square, little structure, and there's this 50 style little camper attached to the back, MacGyvered and sealed to it. And everything in there was blacked out for a sleeping area for these people who used to literally climb a tower and count salmon as they swam up, because the water's so clear. They would literally count them by hand. And so it was an antiquated place. But anyway, that's why that whole thing was there. And it was built up on skids, because remote Alaska, you can't have any permanent structures. They're just not allowed. So anyway, I thought we are going in the river, and everything's chaotic, right? That pressure I was talking about, 3 shots from that 12 gauge, everyone should have just, it should have, in that enclosed area, you felt the pressure of the shotgun blast, but there was no high pitched ringing. It was just thump, thump, thump. And so when this happens, my cousin still, obviously, he hasn't moved much. He's still looking like he's having a seizure, looking at the window. And my elder went into that little bunk area and sat down. And I'm looking for answers, help me, something. And I won't get into that, because it was a bunch of stuff I was saying verbally that wasn't very respectful. But anyway, I was freaked out. And so what I ended up doing, tried to grab the 30-06 from him, and it was loaded, and he had a death grip on it. He wouldn't let go, so I just left that alone. I put one of the chairs from the little table up against the door for whatever reason, and then I took the other one and backed it up to that little I call it little cubby area. And so my back was to that and I could see both windows. And the scream the thing let out when I shot through the wall, it was a scream and shift simultaneous. It was so loud and reverberated so much, even with that muffled kind of feeling in the head, you heard that pot that the stew was in ring like a tuning fork. It was very, very loud. Um, there's times I can share this and it doesn't bother me, and other times it messes with me. So bear with me. So when I sat down in that chair, um, I was shaking real hard, and I was just every thought of how they were going to get me. I didn't see the other side of it. I'm good as dead, right? And I was gripping that shotgun so hard I would have to let go of it to get feeling in my hand, and it was so hard to even. Man, I hate Coleman lanterns to this day. I can't have them near me. That the kind you got to pump up with the white gas and listen to them hiss and all that. I can't do it. But it was so hard to take my hand off the gun and pump that stupid thing because I didn't want it dark, right? Um, and so it was the only thing that got me to calm down. And I was shaking hard. Was resigning myself to death. And it sounds like whatever, but like I lost joy in my life for a number of years because of that, because I was good as dead. Um, there was no joy in life for a while after that. But anyway, so that was the only way I could stop shaking and like make a cohesive effort on what I was going to do. And I had no real plan of escape at that initial point. It was more like, how am I going to get one of these bastards before they get me? Uh, yeah, it was a real mental thing. So a handful of hours at least, dealing with pumping the stupid thing. Oh, Daniel, when I tell you when a moth would hit those freaking windows or something, oh my God. I the self-control to realize it was a moth before just opening fire was real like oof, there was a few times I was like I thought about running out the door and just, let's go. Bring it. And there was a few times I wanted to go and lay down, just go to sleep and like sleep it away, but I knew I just shot this thing and I just something in my spirit was like it's not over, it's not done. And so after about 5-ish hours I would guess, because at that time of year it's about 12 light cycle, right? And finally, trying to talk to my cousin here and there, finally he started talking back, kind of making a little more sense. Initially he wasn't all, uh his cheese slid off the cracker, so to speak. It wasn't good. But he finally like was himself again, and I got 30-06 from him, got him up, and got him changed. And I kept reassuring him, "Hey, I shot it. It's gone." But that's what happened. But like, I wasn't sharing with him that I think we got more coming. It just wasn't the time. But so once he got changed up and everything, now you got to remember my elders there, and I many times was looking for guidance, asking questions. And the most I would get is like detached responses about prices of fish, how much salmon was caught, like nothing related to what was happening in the moment. So that was kind of like I felt very alone. And so once he was, back to himself for the most part and changed, and I asked him, I was like, "Did you see what I saw?" And he was like, "Yeah, the 3 sets I shine." I said, "What? Why were you under the table?" And from what he saw in his perspective, I found this out like 15, 16 years later. Um, when he was off my left shoulder, he had a better vantage point looking out that window. And he said when he looks out the window, this thing showed its teeth to him, and he boom fell under that table. And he said when he fell under the table, he was looking over there trying to yell at us, "Be careful, watch out!" He was trying to communicate, but he couldn't. He was just seized up. he said it came in closer and looked down at him, and then that's when we turned and saw it, right? So this thing showed him his teeth, and that's caused him to just poof, check out, so to speak. So we sat there and we started brainstorming getting the hell out of there. And, you know, time is going by, you know what I mean? But in those moments of chaos and terror, the clock might as well be moving backwards type thing. But so as we're getting this idea together about what we're going to do and everything, we're going to make a break to the skiff. And running and operating a boat at night is dangerous. There's deadfall trees in the water, being able to see properly, stay in the channel. I mean, there's so many different dangerous things. So the initial thing was we were going to drift. We're just going to get to the skiff and drift away and let the current take us down to the Nushagak, and that was the initial thought process and everything. And my cousin mentions, let's spotlight out first, let's spotlight out. And let's check it out. And that was hard to do too, because you kind of want to know for sure, but you kind of don't want to see that shit again. So we did the riverbank side first. We had to kill the lantern because of the mirrored effect inside. It was dark outside and light on inside. And so we killed that lantern and we beam out that riverbank side. And trust me, we were looking. There was nothing we could see. Then we went to the opposite side, the inside from the riverbank, where the tree line was, where we saw the 3 sets of ice shine, and beamed up where we saw the 3 sets first, right? We're looking, panning back. Now, as we're panning back, off the back corner of this little shack, there's an old, used to be a outhouse, basically, right? Now, everything at this site was built with minimum cuts. It was put together as easily as possible, for sake of, materials and whatever. So this outhouse was about 8.5 foot tall, single-sided roof, basic outhouse, right? And as we pan back and we get to that outhouse, behind the outhouse, not immediately up on it, there's this big black silhouette, 13, 14 feet tall. I mean, 5.5 foot wide-ish, maybe a little more. But the size was one thing, cartoon big, and just massive. But it was absorbing the light, it was giving nothing back. Even a black bear in the dark, you shine the light on it, it has sheen to its hair, it gives it a little bit of sheen, whatever. This just absorbed. And once that thing moved a little bit, man, we were right back inside that little cubby area, barrels crossed, light out. I mean, I almost lost it at that point. What do you do? It felt like a big black nothing was out there and it was there for us. Yeah, it was real hard to just wrap my mind around that, So for a little bit there, barrels crossed, just babbling, and then got real quiet. And we didn't hear anything. It was the damnedest thing, something that big we thought we'd hear. But anyway, it was dead quiet. So with it being quiet, we calmed down, kind of pull ourselves together, and we want to get this plan back in action. So lanterns relit and stuff, and we're kind of coming out of the little cubby area and calming down. And we get the game plan that we're going to get in the skiff and get the hell out of there, right? Or at least do our best to. And all those little plans were being made and everything. And cousin was go first, I'd be behind him, elder behind me. That, we got the basics lined out. And it seemed like every time we would have this cohesive kind of unity on a game plan going, something else would kick up. And so as we were kind of not necessarily finalizing, but kind of agreeing that this is what we're going to do, it sounded like rotor wash from a helicopter, right? In the near distance, this thump, 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 thump kind of sound. And we're feeling it in the ground. And so what it was this thing, one of these things running by to the inside riverbank side, right? And immediately, man, uh, everything off, right back into the cubby, just barrel across it. Like it was like every time we were getting up the gumption to do something, there was another level of terror. And so when this thing ran by and we're tucked back in there and it's black and quiet, these things had to have been already around that where we couldn't see them because they were running around. There was more than one. You can feel the weight difference by, the direction they were running and everything, and the weight difference between them. It was terrifying as hell because at that point, all you got is basically your imagination on what the hell is going on, right? So they ran around and then it seemed like they backed off. And there was a brief pause for a second, then boom, again, they do the same thing. And I don't know if they're trying to see if we're going to shoot again or what. I don't know. It was just, or maybe they're trying to flush us out. Who knows? I couldn't say. I didn't talk to them about it. You know what I mean? So, but the second time that they started running around outside of the camper, I can hear one sniffing that little camper trailer thing. Smell it like, and to this day, I can't. My dog's coming up near sniffing by me. I move, can't do that. So that happened a few times, and it backed off, and it got dead quiet again. And now a good portion of time has passed because it wasn't getting light yet, but there was a change in the light in the sky. It wasn't just pitch black where you can't see your hand in front of your face, right? And so that kind of brought a little more confidence. Daylight's coming, right? So once that, they backed off and it wasn't them running around and doing that cycle or whatever. At that point too, I felt like they were messing with us, man. I felt like we're being toyed with because it seemed like every time we were getting something together, there'd be another terrifying moment. It was like almost like they were feeding on the fear, and I'm just guessing because I don't know for sure, but that's what it felt like. It felt like every time we were calming down, the fear level would be kicked back up again, right? So as we calmed down from that, we're all in on our escape plan. You know what I mean? It's like we need to get the hell out of here. Because it felt ominous, like it was coming to a crescendo, a point of like it's going to go down type of thing, and we didn't want no part of that. So we reiterate our game plan, and it dawned on me when we got there from the skiff, there's about 50 to 70 foot of line where we stuck the anchor into the ground because we didn't want the current to take our skiff away when we first got there, right? So I wasn't going to go retrieve that anchor. And there was about 10, 12 foot of regular chain before the rope that we used. So I, since my cousin would be going first, he was the skiff operator. So he was the one that was going to start the engine. I said, here's my knife. You're going to cut that line, because we're tethered, And so we had that in plan. He was going to have my shotgun. I was going to have 30-06. And we're both going to have guns when we go out. And the elder behind me, and I was carrying, we changed out it was an old Wingmaster 12 gauge that my elder had, And so we took out all the birdshot stuff and I replaced it with, modern slugs and stuff. And so I had that slung over my shoulder. And the initial first time we were going to like actually go out the door, just as we're, kind of getting ready to go, it sounded like a pellet gun shooting the side of the cabin. It was a back. And it was slow at first, and then it just became like a hailstorm of just sound like a pellet gun being shot at plywood, and right back into that little cubby, man. Barrels crossed again, just like holy shit, Well, the saving grace was again the time period between us tucking back in there and then coming back out to make a move. I couldn't tell you the exact amount of time. It was just white knuckle terror, but it has definitely gotten a lot lighter out to where I could see the tree line where we initially saw 3 sets of eyes shine. It could easily see out. So that built confidence, like, oh, daylight, we can see, like there's nothing to be scared of in the dark kind of thing. And so we get back up, everything was getting left except important stuff, extra ammo, that kind of thing. So my cousin's first, I'm behind him, Elder behind me, and it's like, let's go. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's you know, pushes come to shove. So boom, the door's open, and you would have swore we practiced this our whole lives. Because we're boom right to the river edge. Yeah, and you got to understand, it's only 20ish feet to the riverbank and like 6, 7 foot drop. It's nothing. It felt like 10 miles, but it was, I mean, in the big scheme of things, is nothing as far as distance. So we get there, my cousin's already down, and I'm, of course, everyone's heads on a swivel. We're not seeing anything. And so I have my relative come to riverbank side, and I'm helping him down because the dew on the grass and the angle of it. I was helping him get his footing, so I ended up down on one knee. And once he got his footing, um, I had set the 30-06 down, but I still had that 12 gauge over my shoulder, and the way the buttstock was pushing in the ground was kind of pushing me forward. So I scooted back about 4 to 6 inches at the most, just a little bit. Grabbed 30-06 and stood up. And when I got the full height, this rock, a little bigger than the basketball, just whizzed right in front of my face, right? And everything went slow motion once that rock was about, right in front of my face. And I watched it, followed it over into the river where it hit. And it hit in a spot about 3 foot deep, fast moving water, but it hit so hard that you heard it hit bottom and it sounded like crack before the water could cover over it, right? And everything was slow motion at that point. Um, and I swing to my left and I'm holding the 30-06, and there's that big black mass coming out of the tree line about 50 yards away. And I figured that was what threw it. That was the only thing there at the moment I could see. Now, at this time, understand I'm getting tunnel vision from the shock and just the shit going on in my head. But I turned and I put 3 shots center mass because I had no like visible head or eyes or anything. I just went center mass, right? 180 grain, soft tip core locks. Deadliest mushroom in the woods, right? 30-06. Bam, 3 shots. I never worked a bolt action so smoothly in my life and so fast. It probably sounded like a semi-auto, right? So 3 shots, it didn't flinch, nothing. It just stopped moving forward. And at that point, time to go, right? I jumped down and I see my shotgun on the ground, and I figured he excitedly just dropped it, jumping in the skiff, whatever. He's getting it started. And as I get over there, I'm telling him throw my knife because he didn't cut the line. And the engine's going at this point, and he's trying to shift, but it's idling too high. And I cut the line. I'm trying to, after I set the 30-06 in the bow, I'm, trying to get this chain in there so it's not dragging underneath or anything, getting caught up on stuff. And I'm telling him idle down, idle down. And when I glance, my elder's sitting his butt on the edge, and his feet are still out of the skiff. I go over there and I shoved him in, because it was time to go. Yeah, he ended up with a really bad bruised wrist and whatnot, but I feel bad about that. But it was get in there, you know. So I get back to the bow and I get the rest of the chain in, and he had just shifted it, right. And at this point, my elder had shifted his butt and he's looking back towards me, and my cousin, they're both looking up behind me on the riverbank, and their eyes get real big. Now, as I look over my shoulder, I saw from like maybe up to the shin, and this riverbank's, just a little bit above me, behind me. And I saw like real dark hair, and the tips of the hairs were like an auburn kind of orangish, kind of color. It reminded me of like a rose hair tarantula. It's real weird. And because I could see the hair, I knew it wasn't the one I shot, but there was one standing on the riverbank. So I push off and I jump in, and I'm trying to put rounds. There's this 30-06 held 4, and I had saved one in case one of them got a hold of me. I could stick it in his ear, nose, something, and go with my boots on, basically, right? But anyway, so I'm trying to get this reloaded, and like that tunnel vision was just like on me. And so I'm staring down at the open bolt, and I'm trying to coordinate getting rounds back in this thing. And I could feel the skiff going back and forth, right? And I thought my cousin was trying to break friction and get up on step. I come to find out years later that they were actively throwing rocks at the outboard, and one of the rocks hit the transom, cracked the cowling on the outboard, and I mean, it was real hectic, right? And so we're up on step, and like once or twice I looked off to my left to that same riverbank side they were on. Now also, when I turned and I was focusing on that big black one and I put the shots on it, there was movement on both sides of it at that point, but that tunnel vision was so tight. That movement just meant nothing in the moment, right? But these things were moving, and saw one of them running just once or twice, glancing over off to the left, and then finally we got far enough down the river. um I kept expecting trees to fall in front of us, as we're going down river, and that thankfully didn't happen. And then finally we got far enough away, and then once we got to where the Nuyakuk feeds into the Nushagak there, I had a sense of relief, and then I felt like I weighed 1,000 pounds, man. I just collapsed in the bow. I could barely move from all that tension all night, all that just stress, man. The up and down roller coaster of emotions, and the adrenaline dump, and all that. So yeah, and the worst thing about that is, up to that point, me, my elder, my cousin, we're the three peas in a pod. If there's adventure to be had, there was at least us three at the core of it, if not others, but no less than us three all the time. It was a constant, regular thing, And after that, though, it destroyed our relationships. Because I was telling anyone with a pair of ears, watch that the Nuyakuk River, don't go there. And I would tell the people at the time, hey, well, my elder and cousin was there, like, I'm not trying to feed you a line. Be careful. It wasn't like I was looking for attention, because I didn't want that. I was trying to tell people, watch out. But then, they shied away from talking about it. And then it was to the point of, I don't know what he's talking about, that kind of thing. Like there was a denial, and they didn't want to be associated with that kind of thing. And it just, it ruined our relationships, and yeah, it messed me up good for about 4 years, um, real heavy drinking, just like a weird death wish. It was real weird. But yeah, that was 19 years ago. This just past September 17th.
Wow. Fred, I could sit here and listen to that story over and over and over again and still hear new parts of that story each time you tell it. Even though you're telling it word for word the exact same time every time, I still pick up on new things. And it's absolutely amazing. Can I ask you a few questions about that encounter?
Yeah, no doubt.
So let me ask you, after this whole thing was over, did you guys ever go back to that area at all?
No,
No.
I plan on doing a documentary, and I want to go back to that location as the apex of that documentary. And what I see for that documentary isn't like going in the woods whooping and banging a tree, or what people will call a documentary. I'm talking legit, First Nations only, like why our oral history is important, and how it was important, in ancient times, and how it carries forward and is still relevant and important today, type
Yeah.
thing. So kind of moving through time up into current times, and get interviews with people in there, and then have that location be the kind of like apex of that. But logistically in Alaska, for me to fly round trip to Dillingham, um, for the same cost, I can go to Hawaii a couple times round trip. You know what I mean? So it's
Wow.
weird. Logistics in Alaska are very expensive. And so it's hard to coordinate something like that self-funded, and have the things I would need in the, security type apparatus, because you don't want to take something like that for granted and just go with a couple guys. And I'm not taking, a whole platoon. I'm just saying 2-3 solid, guys for security or whatever. And I sure as hell won't camp out there. You know what I mean? There's just there ain't enough money in the world. It's not. Yeah, haven't been back there, man.
Yeah, that's crazy. About how long was that one looking in the window? Would you guess?
Mere seconds. Like seconds, because then it looked at me and started moving. Like, in my mind's eye, I thought it was coming around to this door behind me to snatch me out. Like, I don't know that's what it was doing, but it was moving, and it was just thump, 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 not long at all. Like, telling you about it is far longer than what it, how it played out. Um, that scream when I shot through and the whole place shifted, like from the feet to the top of your head, like it reverberated in that little place like insane. Um, yeah, man, it was. Oof.
So your elder, and I completely understand the whole predicament that you're in, but also the necessity of how you one, he's your elder, and you have insane respect for this gentleman, but at the
Oh
same
yeah, yeah.
time, you have to you had to go to a place that you normally wouldn't go for survival.
Oh, 100%. And I'm not saying I'm in the right, but I was calling them both all sorts of different types of bitches. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I felt like I was hung out to dry and I was all alone.
yeah.
Um,
So
and when I was sitting there gripping that shotgun before I resigned myself to death, the scenarios playing through my head, and like, I mean, right now talking about, I could still smell the moss, I could still smell the old diesel fuel, I mean, um, very, very vivid stuff. But yeah, man, just oof.
what how was your elder acting during the whole thing? Because the way you were telling the story, I'm under the impression, and correct me if I'm wrong, that one, your cousin was pretty much down and out for the count
For
for
a good portion of that, yeah.
yeah.
My elder, I know he had gone into his Bible once or twice. The deflected kind of uh conversation where it was just totally separated from the reality of what was happening in the moment. Nothing was being given that I could use in those moments. I already know what the fish prices were. Like, um, I think it was disassociation in those moments. Like, let's say, like, grandma and grandpa's a horrible drunk that are, verbally abusive, and grandma's like, oh, he's just drinking, the weather's nice. You know what I mean? Like, not giving it any recognition or any validation in the moment, kind of thing. Like, don't talk about it, it'll go away. Or I don't know, disassociation. I don't know. He wasn't saying a whole lot of nothing, basically, that was going to help me in any way. Yeah, it just felt so lonely, especially with that. I love these people, man, and I don't say that lightly. I love them,
Yeah.
and be right next to them within feet, I feel so alone. Was just, I couldn't. Like, my cousin stood shoulder to shoulder with me before with a charging sow, 865-pound sow.
Mhm.
Didn't flinch, didn't fold, didn't buckle. It was actually his shot that finally stopped her from 40 yards. And had he not shot her, because when she went down and slid, her lips were damn near on my boots. You know what I mean? Like, he was that
Yeah.
guy under pressure. I would have never expected either of these two to fold, or not step up and be on the front line, so to speak. Like, yeah, I would have never uh, expected that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just, um,
Did your elder ever discuss it with you after the encounter?
no,
No.
no,
So
nope. and he's since passed and whatnot. And so that really hurt because of the closeness that was shared up to that point.
Mhm.
Like I I I don't know why. I can't answer that. I never got an answer for it, but no. Um, and as far as my cousin, I had maybe two brief conversations, and the first conversation I had with him, with like for 15 years, was very brief. But I told him, "Hey, here's what I'm gonna share. Here's what I remember. Am I missing anything?" And that's when he told me about them throwing rocks at the outboard. When I thought he was trying to get up on step, he was actually going back and forth, avoiding the rocks being thrown at the outboard. But yeah, just the very brief, minimal from my cousin, and yeah, man, it was
Yeah.
like a real lonely feeling.
Well, I've been watching the chat and your story. People are absolutely losing their mind on the story in a good way. Like there, a lot of people, it's the most terrifying story. A lot of people are commending you on how you were able to keep your cool and kind of keep a level head and think things through. But I did notice someone posted it's Yenu777. She said, or they say my dad's seen one, a Sasquatch on Highway 16 in it. Is it Wet'suwet'en territory? Is that in Alaska?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, so I don't know. Hey, Yenyo or Yenu, where are you located? Where was this located? I wanted Fred to see that. Also, Fred, there's a question here. How does your First Nation relate to the lore, or relate the lore to your experience?
It's part of our oral history. Um, so okay, it's not lore. What it is um, a lot of people will say, mythology, folklore, blah blah. The oral history is the information we need and why we're still around. Good hunting camp, good fishing camp, winter grounds for where to survive, what to eat, what not to eat. The things that are shared to be worried of are real life dangers. There's not wasted words like that. There's no bedtime stories for keeping kids in line. And a lot of academics will chalk it up to mythology and all this and that, and that's just not the case. um, when I was starting the channel, I reached out to my tribal council and let them know what I was going to do, and they weren't against it. It's just they couldn't actively participate. I think that's because there's federal funding involved, and certain political aspects of which they deal with that mean nothing to me, but obviously they deal with and whatnot. But nothing disparaging, nothing against it. No, oh, how dare you, or nothing like that. It was basically, hey, do what you got to do. We just can't actively, you know, if members speak for themselves, so be it. Because we're from a tribe of not everyone can speak for me, and I can't speak for everyone. It just doesn't work that way, So you speak for yourself, and it's along those lines.
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. Oh, and that area that we spoke about from Yenu, they're in Canada. So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I
yeah. I
don't know
didn't know.
anything about Canada, so
Yeah, I didn't know
sorry.
if it was the part up in Alaska. Again, it's a place I've always wanted to visit because as I've talked with you before, and a lot of people in the chat know, my dad's from Ketchikan, and that's where he had his Kustaka encounter, and believes he saw a werewolf in that area. And it's kind of funny. Have you heard of any dogman encounters in Alaska?
I've heard of one, but I wasn't able to get any follow up information. It was this second, third hand. Oh, so and so they had experienced some, dogman issue or whatever. So I haven't had any. It was nothing directly reported to me in regards of the channel or anything like that, because I just don't only do Hairy Man. I get just as many little people stories, if not more. Moose Man, Kustaka.
Whoa, wait,
I basically started with the Hairy Man. What?
Time out. The Moose Man?
Yeah, it's basically a misidentified Hairy Man is what it boils down to.
Okay.
But certain area, it's considered one thing. Like they'll say Bushman, Hairy Man, or Moose Man, because of the size and the color. Very
Okay.
very similar to moose. Yeah, and so the channel itself is not just only going to be about the Hairy Man. It's just that's where I started, because that's what I have experience with. So, but it's also I got a bunch of little people stories that I'm gonna probably end up like doing a playlist of at some point here in the near future. For those who want to hear those things creep me out, man. And then Kustaka, whatever is considered the cryptid, I guess. But for us, it's all under the umbrella of our oral history.
Yeah.
It's the things to be aware of, the things that can get you, and it's man, it's a different world up here, Daniel. It really is. It's so much of it would be dismissed by the outside world, like what are they talking about? But they don't understand. Like I was telling you before, a villager, a brief 40-minute conversation on the phone with a villager just checking in,
Yeah.
you would hear more information. It would just blow people's minds. But because of outsiders, because of uh I was told a few times, don't waste your breath. The Gusucks don't listen. That the outsiders don't listen. Don't waste your breath. Um, that's the mindset really of a lot of indigenous people, is why waste your breath when they're not going to believe you and try to make fun of you about it anyway.
Yeah.
And so the outside world will, unfortunately, never hear about a lot of the stuff that goes on. But there's way more going on than people would even like wrap their minds around. And yeah, man, it's a different place.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny. It's I get a lot of side-eyed, looks and stuff, and kind of some smirks and things like that when I, bring up, especially when I wear like a Bigfoot hat or something like that, or Bigfoot shirt. Oh, you believe in that? Well, absolutely, I believe in it because I saw one when I was 12. I saw another one when I was
Right.
19. But um, I have a question here. It's from Soundwave. Soundwave is asking, has Fred ever talked to other people in their tribes of their abilities and signs up there? So, have you talked to any other tribes about their abilities and what signs do they see up there? If I'm
Okay,
relaying it
so
correctly.
yeah, there's a lot of universal stuff. As far as the signs of their them being around, of course, screams, tracks, the basic stuff. I just did an interview with the Tlingit elder of the Wolf Clan, Sonny Grant, and I let him speak. I let him speak for the things that they're dealing with, whether it be cannibal giant, hairy man, Kustaka, what have you, because he's from southeast. And I do talk to those different tribes from, all over the state. I have contacts that I hear from on a regular basis. And so, not as a gatekeeper or anything like that. I have things in the works to where people are going to share, like, what I was saying, like, I can't speak for everyone and everyone can't speak for me.
Hmm.
Same thing. There's more coming, basically, as far as that kind of information, because I don't want to be a gatekeeper, but I'm also not going to disrespect the next guy because, oh, hey, check it out. Yeah, you know what I mean? Um, I'd rather them speak for themselves and actually have permission to speak on it for them. You know what I mean? As a surrogate in some way, rather than just talk about it, potentially insult somebody for speaking for them, if that makes sense. And then it's respect is a very iffy thing, you know.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'd rather them speak for themselves or actually have permission to speak for that, you know, from their point of view, so to speak. So,
Right. I got another question here from Christina. So, and she's one of my mods. She says, "I think the Kustaka is a shapeshifter. So can it could be anywhere. What are your thoughts on that?"
yeah, that's the type of reports I've gotten. Um, from very large sea otter to all of a sudden changing into otter man as it's running up, you know, towards this cabin before it knocks it over. Um, yeah, definitely shapeshifter, you know. And what do you do with that? You know, you know what I mean? Like if this thing can shapeshift into basically anything, what do you do? Like what's your, you know, unless you have knowledge about it and you take it serious. Let's say someone's out walking somewhere remote and all of a sudden, hey, there's a guy standing there. You know, it's a guy, you know, in your mind's eye, but there's also precautions, you know, approaching it
Mhm.
from a mindful way versus the complacent, hey, what's your name? Yeah, how's it going? You know, that kind of thing. I think certain behaviors would give it away, as far as what you're dealing with. Uh, but again, if someone is, if it's not in their wheelhouse, then how are they going to even, you know, approach that outside of just standard, you know, cordial, hey, beautiful weather today, how you doing, blah blah, whatever, you know, that type of thing. So yeah, definitely shapeshifters, and be aware, you know, you never know, you know, even if it's not a Kushtaka, it could, why are they out there by all themselves, you know, like, are they running from something, are they dangerous? I'm not trying to cast aspersions because people like their, you know, alone time, but still, you gotta be aware, you know, you can't be ignorant of the world around you. That's for
Oh,
sure, but definitely shapeshifters for
oh,
sure.
for sure, for sure. You know, and it's have you had any reports? Because again, everything that I've read in my dad's encounter happened in again Ketchikan, southeast Alaska. Have you had any reports of a Kushtaka anywhere else in the state of Alaska?
Outside of Southeast, no.
No. Okay.
Nope. Um, yeah, no. I mean, not at all. Um, but also understand that a lot of the natives are very leery about coming forward and sharing stuff. Um, I've been fortunate to have, you know, worked on these relationships, and with how I do the channel and I treat it with the utmost respect is the only reason I'm even having people willing, like Sonny Grant, for example, to come on camera and share. Um, it takes work, you know, it takes patience for one, and you know, sticking to it, like in the view, like the guys of oral history, keeping it uh, respected and what it is. Uh, yeah, it's still unfolding. It's a work in progress, man.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
but a lot of them over superstition and whatnot, they don't even want to talk about it, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, which I understand, but from public safety standpoint, I encourage them to. Okay, so a lot of the superstition stems from, you speak about it, it could bring a bad omen. Never follow it. That really almost guarantees a bad omen. But I would counter with, well, if you're warning somebody, hey, this happened over here, it's not necessarily in the context of wanting to conjure it, so to speak. But again, that's, you know, that's kind of gets kind of dicey with someone's beliefs, you know, and you don't want to be disrespectful because, you know, that'll shut down real fast, you know. So
Right. So I got a question here. It's from Magical Journey. Is there a hairy man with horns in Alaska? They've heard about them in Appalachia.
Not that I've ever heard. No.
Okay.
Um, no,
That's good to hear.
no.
I don't know. I don't know if I could handle seeing a 15-foot tall hairy man with horns. No, I mean just uh, a hairy
Yeah,
man
not.
15
I
foot
mean,
tall.
yeah. No, not at all. Uh, yeah, that would definitely stand out as something that gets your attention, you know. But no, not up here. At least not that's been shared with me at this point, you know. Um, yeah, no, not that I've heard of or come across.
Oh, for sure. So, you had mentioned um a story about the Kustaka, about where it at first was a large otter, then it started coming
Mhm.
to shore. If you're able to, can you share that encounter? Because you shared with me before, just a brief, like, expert of it,
So right.
and
So
it's scary. It's a terrifying encounter.
yeah, so this guy had a remote cabin in southeast, and he had set out these crab pods and was going to check them a couple times over the course of a few days, and wasn't getting anything in his crab pods, and always noticed this big otter and threw some rocks at it or something if I remember correctly. Now forgive me. The video is on the channel. I don't know what number it is, but um, from what I can pull immediately from my memory is it turned from throwing rocks and stuff at this thing to it culminated in one evening he just started the fire in his little cabin, and that's when I was talking about it came up on shore, the big otter. And gosh, I'm trying to forgive me because I deal with so many different people explaining and sharing things with me, and this I think I shared with, gosh, it had to have been a while ago, but anyway, so it boils down to I don't know if he had shot at the otter at this point and then it just came and transitioned into an like bipedal. Uh, but in essence, it came from the shore as he was watching it, had this fire lit and everything. It comes running up and then comes across the side of the cabin he was in and ends up pushing it off its pilings. And when the guy came to, because he knocked unconscious from being tipped over, uh, his some of his clothing was pinned down by the stove, and wood stoves are heavy, and so he was fortunate to get out of that. But gosh, yeah, I should have you know re-listened to that encounter and refresh my mind on all the little ins and outs of it. But yeah, it boiled down to he got the cabin tipped over. He no longer lives in state, I know that much, and he sold his property. There's a few people down southeast that's happened to where Harry Man or whatever, they had an encounter, they sold their property. They won't come back to Alaska. Like, done. We're out of here. You know? And I can't say as I blame them.
No, me
Um,
neither.
yeah, it's what do you do? Yeah, if something like that happens so extraordinary, so out of the box, it and no one's gonna think you're a nutcase. What do? You sell your property and get the hell out of there.
Yeah,
Um, at least for most.
yeah. Well, let me do an announcement here real quick. Hey, you guys, again, thank you so much. I hope you're enjoying the show. I am boying away over here with Fred. I shouldn't be like that because he's a good friend of mine. But you guys, 6 more days are left in the month, and that's 6 more days left to become a member of the Cryptid Podcast. I'm running. This is like I'll be doing a giveaway. It's celebrating 5,000 subs, over 100 episodes, and the 1 year birthday of the Cryptid Podcast. And in order to become a member, get over to the channel, hit join. A membership's only $2.99, and I'm giving away a little swag bag. So in the swag bag, you guys, um, I'm giving away a hat, and you're actually getting the tote as well, a little tote. And then inside the tote, you guys will be getting a couple of stickers that I made myself and a patch and a mystery gift So if you guys would like to become a member, it's only $2.99 a month. Your name will get put in for a drawing for the swag bag. With that, you also get an early access to a Saturday release show. So yeah, I appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That'd be awesome if you did that. Fred, I can't remember the name of it, but and I saw someone ask in the chat, are there other types of cryptids that are known in Alaska that we necessarily don't really get to hear about down here in the lower 48? No, we hear about that. Well, I've been pushing the Kustaka because, like I said, it's like my second favorite cryptid. But we know about the hairy man, and then we know about little people.
Right.
But
Now, there are other see, cryptid is like a unknown animal to science that uh, there's others. However, they're more of a supernatural, paranormal uh type thing. I mean, outside of mountain giants, you know. But there's been mention of that before. All the others would be like along the paranormal, supernatural
Mm,
kind of
okay,
realm. You know,
okay,
I'm sure everyone has heard the woman in white kind of stories. Oh, you're driving down this road, don't stop for the woman
yeah,
in white. That kind of that's not what it is. However, it's not far removed from that type of thing. So, um, yeah, there's definitely more, but not nothing I would consider a cryptid. Um,
okay,
at least that I could think of offhand, right in this moment, that nothing stands out. Because like I mentioned, the Moose Man, I think that's a misidentified type thing.
mhm,
Um, someone tried to convince me too that Kustaka was a misidentified hairy man. I'm like, no, 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 no,
yeah,
that's not what it is. Um, yeah, it's more supernatural, paranormal, outside of those things.
okay. I got a really interesting question here. It's from Bikes Bullets. Uh, does Mr. Roehl know of any others in Alaska that have had similar encounters uh, to them being attacked, similar to yours?
Yeah, on the same river. I come to find out years later, when I was starting the show, I had asked one of my cousins, Nikolai Chris. I was like, we're talking totally separate from the channel. We're having a conversation. He was having some health issues. He's gonna be in Anchorage or whatever. But I was like, oh hey, do you have any good hairy man stories? And I had never spoken to him about hairy man because it's you don't speak about it usually in the village. But first things out of his mouth were, "Have you ever been on the Nuyakuk River?" And I laughed. I was like, "What?" Like, and they come to find out there have been at least a dozen others who have had very similar experiences to ours, who have had to fire shots to get these things back, on that particular Nuyakuk River, man. And so, yes, I have. Yeah, there was one lady. She was setting a net for whitefish, and she was backing her skiff away. She had set her anchor on shore, and she was backing to pull her net out. And as she was pulling back, she was tending to her net, and all of a sudden, she felt the sensation of getting pulled back towards shore. And she looked up, and there was one pulling the net, pulling her back in towards it. Right, uh, and she had to fire shots for it to leave. uh, Same cousin Nikolai, they had one. I had shared it on the channel. I forget the episode or whatever. But they were in a different fish and game cabin further down towards Kalignik, where they had the outer door open and there's an inner door for the bunk room that they had there. And this thing walked in and looked in up over the door at them and smiled. And then when one of his cousins did the safety on his rifle, it backed out. But as it backed out, it tried to snatch a guy by his jacket and tore it off him, basically trying to snatch him out of there. The same trio had to open fire when they were camping out in this shed that was adjacent to the same place when this thing kicked the door in and was jumped up on the roof. shenanigans, man. The Nuyakuk River is not a joke. There have been several uh, fish and wildlife, law enforcement, witnesses, like biologists, a whole slew outside of just villagers, that have had experiences up in that area.
Mm.
And yeah, most definitely, I have heard of more than a couple of having them. They would have to use firearms to get these things to back off. Um, yeah, man, Nuyakuk River, geez. Just thinking
Whew.
about it gets my heart rate jacked.
I got to look at that, man. I mean, that's amazing, and it's amazing, but it's terrifying. So it's like it's a hot spot, and it just the boldness of these things. Like you said, he looked over the door, smiled,
Yeah,
and when they
didn't
saw a
give a
firearm
rat's
coming up,
ass. Yeah, didn't
it
give a rat's ass.
as it was leaving, it was trying to snatch someone. That is
Yeah,
bananas. So
yeah.
Hillary, another one of my mods here, she asked, this is a really good question. I'm not sure I know the answer, but I think I might. Are there any Alaskan First Nation equivalents of skinwalkers or wendigos?
Similar, yeah. Yeah, that would fall under the realm of the supernatural paranormal types. In essence, it would be like a Wendigo, that type of thing. Um, just with the Alaska flavor, I guess, added to it.
Mhm.
Um, I don't have an immediate reference that I could give and say, oh, it's this and that. That's minor differences or whatever. But there is. I'm just not up to speed on the exact differences between the two. But it's in essence along that same vein. Um, most definitely.
2 questions here back to back. So these things, these beings, they recognize firearms?
We talking about the hairy man?
Yep.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
And
Yep.
then another one here. So these hairy men, they can open doors, or is that more of a dogman type? Yeah, I think they can open up doors very well.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard of a few different occasions where they were, trying the door and whatnot. Now that's another thing that kind of like is one of the driving forces, and I don't have an answer for, but there's like a weird thing, like how black-eyed kids, they say they got to have permission to come in, you got
Yep.
to invite them in, type thing. Well, it seems like in a lot of these circumstances, these things could just open the door and it's done. But it's like I don't know if it's to amp up the person's fear as why they don't. I don't know if they're just feeding off the fear or if there's some unknown, universal law that they got to go by that they can't cross the threshold. I don't, because it doesn't make no sense why they wouldn't. Like they could have smashed that place and I was in, smacked me against a tree, and it's done.
Yeah.
But they didn't. But they didn't. So it's like yeah, real weird. Like there's so many things that just don't make sense. As far as some of those things, because like it would have been nothing for these things to smash that place to nothing. But they didn't. Why? You know what I mean? And why is it someone could be basically ushered out of a place without as much violence at all, while we dealt with what we did? You see what I mean? Like what's that trigger? What's the difference between someone just being run off versus someone being taken? There's got to be something that triggers one of the two.
Yeah.
And unanswered questions. There's a lot of them. You
Oh,
know.
there's a ton of questions, and I find myself writing questions. I got a notepad right here, that I write questions, thoughts in about, um, where do they come, like someone had right here, where do hairy men come from?
I
Don't
I mean,
know.
I don't know, because when I asked an elder one time, I was like, where they come from? How long we've been having to deal with this? And what was told to me is they've always been, and it's always been that way.
Mhm.
There's nothing in our oral history that says we used to trade or be friends or anything. It's always been adversarial. They will steal you and eat you. And
Yeah.
so I'm not going to argue with that kind of thing from an elder with an oral tradition that's a millennia old versus something from a brick and mortar building.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, to me, academia has its place, but it's like you can read a book on surviving in the wilderness. Now apply it. Go out in the wilderness, and there's a vast difference between reading about it and living it. It's not. There's you got to put boots on the ground with some things. If you're really going to learn.
Yeah.
Learning in a book is great. Hey, if you're going to parrot it or whatever, that's great. But reading and teaching yourself about survival, you won't really learn until you apply those things in the elements. Where they would be applied. Because a lot of people understand the concept of starting their own fire, so they'll take stuff in their own garage, nice dry wood, no inclement elements or anything. They just, oh hey, I started a fire. Well,
Yep.
do it under the pressure of survival in the wilds. Two different mindsets. So anyway, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm getting at.
100%.
So it's a different thing, in practice versus reading about it.
Yeah.
For sure.
So I asked you about dogman encounters, and there's a site that I go to that deals with dogman encounters, and there's 2 reports in the is it Matanuska Valley? Am I saying that
Matanuska
right?
Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in the Matanuska Valley right now.
Okay. So
Yeah.
there's 2 reports on here, and I'll read them here real quick. This one was reported in 1998, October 27th, 1998. And the encounter goes like this. It took place many years ago. I never had the faintest explanation for it until a couple of months ago when I randomly stumbled across Dogman on the internet. I was in my early 20s, working swing shifts at the time and commuting about 100 miles each way. So it was usually around 2 in the morning by the time I got home. I saw the monster, as I call it, on the northeast or northernmost section of Trunk Road in the Manatuska Valley in
Matanuska. Yeah,
Mat-
Matanuska Valley.
Matanuska Valley. Okay. Uh,
Yeah.
this area is almost smack in between the towns of Palmer and is it Wasilla?
Wasilla. Yeah. Yeah.
Wasilla. I was
Yeah.
only
That would
about
actually be in my neighborhood, to be honest with you. Because you have to be heading towards Hatcher Pass to be heading north.
oh,
Yeah, I know the area.
well, they say I was only about 10 miles from home at that point, so it must have been around 2 a.m. Trunk Road is narrow, 2-lane road consisting of nothing but twists and turns. The surrounding terrain is somewhat swampy and thick with black spruce. It was late
Yeah.
October.
That would
Uh,
be Old Trunk Road because they got a new one now. I know the road because I've been out here a long time, so I know the Old Trunk Road. Anyway, go
okay.
ahead.
Okay. I love that you know where this is. This is awesome. It was late October, days before Halloween. There was no snow on the ground, but it was cold enough to be wary of ice. I was driving an 82, here you go, an 82 Subaru, um, Southwest, going about 20 miles an hour around the curve when my headlights caught a large dark figure up ahead. I'm bad at judging distance, maybe 6 car lengths away. I instinctively let off the gas, coasting closer. At first, I assumed it was a moose, as the area is infested with them, but no, it was standing upright. Bear? Nope, not a bear. It looked so strange, tall enough to be uncommonly large bear, but far too slender. And it looked like it had spikes running down its neck and back. A Halloween prop, maybe. It was an odd but effective place for one. All those thoughts ran through my head in fraction of a second. The car was still coasting closer, and I could see more details. It was standing in profile, gazing across the road. I could barely see its wolfish muzzle. Oh no, I'm sorry. I could clearly see its wolfish muzzle. Large upright ears. The spikes on its back were, in fact, clumps of fur. Its spine curved its spine curved in a smooth, very natural looking way. It was standing in the ditch, inches from the pavement. Because I was forced on its let's see, because I was focused on its upper body, I do not recall anything about its back legs or if it had a tail. I did see its front legs, though, very doggy looking, hanging awkwardly down and slightly towards its front, exactly as you'd expect if a dog stood upright. While it clearly had a canine look, there was still something off about it that I cannot articulate. It was perfectly still, and at this point, given the proximity to Halloween, I was quite convinced it was some sort of Halloween prop because it was clearly not any kind of existing animal that I've ever seen in this area. I was deeply impressed and gently stepped on the brakes, intending to stop to examine it closely. Then it turned its head towards me. In a tiny fraction of a second that it took for it to swivel its head, I knew I had made a terrible mistake. The fluidness of its movement removed any doubt that it was some kind of a prop. It was horribly, terrifyingly alive. I the pale off-white glow of the eye shine in the headlights destroyed any possibility of a human in a costume. I sat I think I sat there gaping at gaping at it in shock for a few seconds. The car barely moved by now, but still it inched closer. As I was almost upon it, I think it could have leaned forward and touched the car if it had wanted to. I had to look up to see its face. Again, I'm a bad judge of such things, but I'm 5'4", and this was heck of a lot taller than me. Tall like a polar bear, standing probably 7 to 8 feet tall. I really can't say. I snapped out of my trance and slammed on the gas. The car fishtailed as I prepared myself for death by monster, as I was certain I'd end up in the ditch. But the tires caught the pavement, and I drove like a complete maniac all the way home. I've only been on that section road a few times since, never alone and never at dark. For the next several years of driving that commute, I went 20 miles out of my way to avoid Trunk Road. This thing never made any aggressive moves, but there was something about it that felt very, well, I don't know, predatory. I've never seen anything remotely like it again and never heard any stories of that area.
Yeah, that's the first I'm hearing of that. But again, you know, some, not everyone reports what they deal with to me, and some people will never speak about what they've dealt with. So, um, yeah, dang that. I mean,
That's
I'm
terrifying.
literally, it could be right outside right now where I'm sitting. I mean, in
Yeah,
all honesty, um, but hey, Daniel, it's we're about an
yeah,
hour and almost
yeah,
45 in, but I do have some previous
yep.
obligations I have to
No,
tend to, buddy.
we're good.
Um, but I appreciate you having me on. Thanks
Absolutely.
to everyone who had questions and supporters of the channel. I appreciate them.
Yeah.
Um, and we'll have to do this again, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Again, thank you so much. Everybody, let's give a big thanks for Fred for coming on. Bro, thank you so much. Again, you're always in my prayers. Best to you. And if you just
I
want to go ahead
appreciate it.
and if you just want to jump out, man, you can jump out and we'll finish the show up here. We got about 15 more minutes. So,
Okay, buddy. Well, hey, thanks everyone for your
yep.
questions, and we'll check you guys down the road.
Later, buddy. You guys, how awesome was that? How awesome was that, you guys? Honestly, um, I'm so honored to call him my friend. I'm so honored that we get to chat, not on a regular basis because you guys know he's a very busy person. But yeah, again, it was awesome to have him on, and yeah, amazing. So, you guys, we're not done with the show. We got like another 15 minutes. So, again, everybody that's new to the chat, if you have, if you're new, drop a 1 in the chat. Let us know where you're from. And then, if you haven't already, check out the other episodes that I have on the channel. And if you like what you hear or see, please consider subscribing to the channel. Again, we got 6 more days left in the member giveaway. So if you'd like to become a member of the show, go ahead and hit that join button. It's $2.99, and you got yeah, you guys will get an early access to a Saturday release show, and your name in the drawing for a swag bag. So, um, Christine's telling me to go on my phone. Here's the funny thing about going on my phone. I've done a live like 2 times in the last like 2 weeks, and no one popped up. I was on for like 5 or 6 minutes and nobody popped on. So, but yeah. So this was awesome, you guys. I really, really appreciate you guys jumping to Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Nice. I've been there before. I love that place. I like Florida in general. It's just a good place to go. So, you guys want to hear one more story before we jump off of here? One for a yes, two for a shut up and end the show. No, you're good, Kimberly. That's fine. Got a big yes. There we go. All right. Before we bring up before I bring up another story, but you guys, how cool was it that when I'm reading that Dogman encounter, Fred knows exactly where it was. Like he knows that area. So yeah, that was pretty awesome, man. I really enjoyed that, and I really enjoy Fred. Fred is a really good guy. So if you guys want to hear a story, do you want to hear a story about a specific cryptid, or do you want to hear something Bigfoot or Dogman? What do you guys want to hear? Because I can do a specific cryptid if you guys want. Oh, all right, cool. A specific cryptid. Let me bring that page up. Okay. Okay. Do that. Da-da. All right. So a specific cryptid. No, I'm not doing scarecrow. All right. So you guys, this is how it works with specific cryptids, okay? So I have this site that I go to, and I ask you guys to just give me a letter of what you want to hear about. So A to Z, any chance of Scottish ones, a Scottish cryptid. Well, let's see what we have here. Bikes, bullets, are you out of here, brother? If you are, thank you so much for joining the show. I hope you enjoyed this live. I had a great time doing this live. Got Andy from New Zealand. Well, I can look for encounters because there's one site that has like international ones. And let me see here. So nothing from Scotland and nothing from New Zealand. Now someone believes they encountered a Bigfoot in Luxembourg, which is a small country in Europe. But let's see here. Unacknowledged unknown. How are you doing? Are there any native accounts of hairy men changing into deer? You know, that's a great question. And you know what? I'll ask Fred that question. I'll ask Fred that question. That's a great question. So let me kind of look here. See if I can find something with this cryptid place that I go to. They don't break it down by, well, I don't know, do they break it down? Let's see here. Let's see if they break it down. No, they don't break it down by countries, which I wish they would. That'd be a pretty good idea. But someone said D. I saw D. Okay, this is kind of creepy here. All right. So this is the one I'll be reading on, you guys, is called Deer Man. Deer Man is a cryptid whose legend originates in the folklore of North America. Sightings of the Deer Man have been reported from several U.S. states, although there is some variation in the description given. They say the appearance is a hybrid animal, deer man, as the antlered head of a great stag and a human torso, and legs described as similar to either those of a man or deer. In addition, it is usually said to be well muscled and surprisingly fast for its size. Other accounts gift the deer with powers of transforming itself from a regular deer into a deer man, again, as it was previously described. Now, there has been a sighting in Ohio, the date's unknown, but an unnamed 14-year-old witness was playing with his cousin or at his cousin's house near sunset when he spotted a creature emerging from the brush. And he reported as it was getting dark and I was the one searching. So I guess he's playing hide and seek. I heard leaves crumpling, and when I turned to look, I saw what looked like a deer on its hind legs. I clearly remember seeing dog legs running, but the rest of the body was straight up and it ran with incredible speed. And I knew it wasn't either of my cousins hiding. I ran as fast as I could back to the house, and my one cousin was running in too. He saw the same thing. It still creeps me out to this day because my uncle always told us how he saw weird things on that property. And then in, is it uh Hawkinson, Delaware, 1993. This account is, let's see here, another account from an at the time 8-year-old witness, again unnamed, who was staying with his grandparents at their home in the woodland state. He states it was right there, like almost pressed against the window. I saw I stared in awe. I doubt an 8-year-old said I stared in awe. But that is when it changed. In one smooth movement, it reared up on its hind legs, and it was no longer a deer, but a man. There were only two men in the area, my grandfather and my dad, and it was clearly not them. My grandfather was very built for his age, but my dad had a gut. The silhouette was clearly younger, muscular, but not like a brick way my grandfather was. It excluded strength and scared the heck out of me. It stared to the side for a moment and then it strolled off with purpose. Looking back, I want to tell myself that it was just my imagination, but I remember the awe and the utter fear I felt when it changed. Wichita Mountains National Wildlife Refuge in Oklahoma in 2012. In this report, a man named Kyle Hayeen was out with his friend photographing the night sky when a number of wild animals, including both elk and bison, rushed past, giving off the impression that they were attempting to escape from something lurking in the nearby forest. Subsequently, a deadly silence descended across the landscape. Decidedly unsettled by this turn of events, the men packed up their gear and began to retreat to their vehicle when a sudden rustling in the long grass caused them to bring their rifles to bear. Reaching the vehicle, Hayne and his companion were about to drive off when a deer man emerged from the shadows and began to lurch forward towards them. By now, terrified, the two men hit the accelerator and sped off as fast as they could. Haynes said, "We were so scared. This thing got even quieter when we stayed there." Oh, sorry. Things got quieter even when we stayed there. While there, we heard one ear-piercing screech or scream, almost a hunting screech of something sort of made by it's something that made my hair stand on end, and it gave me goosebumps. With that, we left the mountains completely. We felt as if we were not wanted there at night. The way the wildlife acted, the figure that we came across, um, that the animals had to have been running away from, and then the scream, of which I can only find reference to happen to be that of a banshee. I cannot forget the figure we saw, as well as the scream. It was not human. It was not any type of wildlife I'm familiar with out there. So that's pretty weird. A deer man. I was thinking maybe like not a deer, you know? So, okay. Unknowledge, uh, unknown. Someone wants him to share a story. Falcon, what's going on? You guys, I'm gonna come kind of go through here real quick and say hello to everybody. Wayland and Chance, hello, nice to see you. Steambox, um, uh, unacknowledged unknown, Kristen, um, who am I missing? Croker, the Woods, what? Retna, Croker, the Words. How are you? Thanks for coming in. I forgot Pale Crawlers. You guys, I will ask Fred Hillary again. Thank you for coming in. I will ask Natalie, how are you? Um, Steph the contractor, how are you doing? Catch y'all later. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you being here. Yeah, I'm gonna ask Fred a lot of these questions you guys are asking. But you guys want to tell you right now, this is the biggest live that I've had. We had over 100 people pop in to join us. Again, thank you so much for everything. I will see. I, well, I will in my next interview. Well, why don't you come on my show and let me interview you? Unacknowledged unknown. Yeah, I know you guys had a ton of questions. And you guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, him recounting that story with his cousin, his elder, crazy. ACTR, thank you so much. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. I really, and again, Fred is such a good person. He really is. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys, great things are coming to the channel. I just have a feeling, we're doing. I kind of got my feelers out. Oh, and I haven't told you guys this. I some people know, some people don't. But I was asked last Tuesday to be a guest speaker at at an upcoming Bigfoot conference. So June 6th, I will be in North Little Rock, Arkansas, at a Bigfoot conference, and I will be a guest speaker. So I'll be a guest speaker, you guys. So anybody there, we're in Arkansas, North Little Rock, North Little Rock. So I'm super excited, and so I'm gonna try to. I know I'll probably have a table as well. So I'll have some. I'm almost 100 million trillion gajillion% for sure that I will not have any pictures of myself there, but I'll have some pictures of like some of the Cryptid Podcast thumbnails that I've done or logos that I've done. No one wants a picture of me, so so I'll give you guys what I can. I'm also thinking about um doing. I'm gonna try to find a place where I can get some pretty good shirts for you guys as well, where it's not wrecking the bank. And then I got a buddy of mine who makes soaps, so I'm gonna be doing like puck size soaps, and I'll bring those for you guys so you guys can don't know. I don't know. I'm just thinking of some stuff that I have not seen to kind of bring to you guys, and maybe some 3D little printed guys or something like that. But you guys, again, this has been so much fun. 2 hours. I haven't done a 2-hour live stream in a little while. Usually about an hour, and then I jump off and then jump on my phone. But I am going to go ahead and jump on. Yeah, if you guys want to take a shower, take a bath, whatever you want to do, wash your feet. But you guys, listen, I am going to I'm gonna go live. I'm gonna come back. So if you guys want to go to that live, you can. If you don't want to, that's cool. But I will, and I'm probably not gonna be on that long, you guys. It's 10:30 here, and I'm a little tired. So, but just get on there and kind of chat with you guys, read some more stories for you guys. So again, I'm gonna be jumping off of here. I'm going to be going live again. So, Thomas Jenkins, I hope you hear this, buddy. I'm going live. The New Zealand guest who was on, Lisa. That's who I had on, Lisa. So, I'll see you guys in about maybe 2 minutes. All right. Everybody who's in the chat, if you want to follow me on over to the live, I'll be right back, you guys. All right. You guys, I can't say without jumping off here. As my buddy Josh always says, you guys stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, you guys, remember, a legend begins with a sighting. I'll see you guys shortly. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for making this an amazing live. I appreciate you guys. Peace out, guys.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?